There is a balance to the universe. The struggle to maintain that balance is the stuff of legends.
The new film from the director of Alien.
I've found my true mate.
You disgust me.
Starring Tom Cruise and Tim Curry.
Never! Never!
Legend. Rated PG.
In a world where nostalgia rages across the land, where everyone and their mother has a podcast, where there's still a movie trailer guy who says, in a world, three friends revisit films, shows, and games that molded them as they search for answers to life, the universe, and everything in between. Settle in and join us for Screen Refresh.
Welcome back to Screen Refresh, a show where we revisit the films, shows, and games from our childhood to try to take another look at what we fell in love with. As always, I'm Tim, and I'm joined by the rest of the Screen Refresh crew, Dean and Nick.
I'm Dean.
Hello there.
Today we'll be entering the most pollen-filled forest in cinema in Ridley Scott's Legend.
So grab some Claritin and come to the forest.
Multiple times throughout this movie, we were wondering while we were watching it, because I hadn't seen it in years, there was the vision she had of the snow. Is that the snow? And then when the actual snow shows up, it's like, oh, wait, no, that's all been pollen this entire time?
You got hung up on the pollen. I got hung up on the glitter. Because the amount of glitter in that movie, I think Tom Cruise still has it. Like, every now and then he'll, like, turn a corner of his house and he sees glitter. And I can just think of him, like, it's still the same glitter from that movie.
Is there glitter? I guess I'm just
Everywhere.
thinking
everywhere.
I'm just thinking glistening for some reason, like wet, shiny surfaces.
Like they had on the cheeks, the hands.
I don't remember the glitter.
I mean, even like the throne room had glitter on like the chairs. The trees were glittery.
It makes you wonder if the darkness set, if that glitter was intentional or it's just, guys, it's everywhere and it's just, we're going to have to deal with it.
Like there was an accident of some sort early on in production where it's like a bag opened up in front of one of the fans. And they're like, okay, guys, we do not have time. Just keep going. We have to stick to schedule.
Why didn't Ozzy Osbourne play the darkness character?
Because Tim Curry was the fucking man.
What?
Tim Curry. I love Tim Curry. I love Clue. I love him as like Pennywise. But I feel like this is still the absolute best Tim Curry role.
He absolutely carried this movie. Every time he was on scene, it was the best parts of the movie. And I wish he was in it a slightly bit more. In my headcanon, this was my first time watching it. In my headcanon, I figured Willow to be more along the lines of Legend and vice versa. I was expecting, I only seen the posters, so I see like, Tom Cruise on the front cover, and I'm expecting him to be this like knight in shining armor, rushing to save Sarah, Ferris's girlfriend.
Mia Sarah.
Sloane.
Yeah. So every time that's what I always expected, and in watching it, I was quite shocked.
I know there's a lot of discussion in terms of this movie being partly the inspiration for like Legend of Zelda, in terms of like Jack as a Link-like character.
You did remind me of that. His outfit too kind of threw me.
Which it's a case of like, it's definitely not anything that I would say like is a ripoff, but I can definitely, whether it's true or not, see that if somebody grew up and saw this, that they would kind of have a homage to it, or at least like have some of those ideas in their head, because if this is the kind of stuff that they enjoy, then naturally, if they get a chance to do their own project, they'll probably incorporate some of that into it. So I think it was definitely fun, had a good feel to it for that.
I remember the part in Legend of Zelda where, what's his fairy character's name?
Navi.
Yeah, she tries to make out with Link, or get him to like make out with her.
What?
So then she turns into Zelda.
Yeah, that was inspired.
And then Link denies her.
Right. I remember that part of Zelda.
Exactly like Legend. Yeah. I actually think that happened with Tingle. You guys remember Tingle?
I don't.
So Legend. Originally came out in the UK first, December 13th, 1985, and then hit the US April 18th of 1986, released against Murphy's Law with Charles Bronson and Wise Guys with Joe Piscopo.
Definitely not pulling the same crowd.
Yeah, I was going to say, so there's really there's a split demographic out there for that weekend. Haven't seen either of those movies. Murphy's Law looks exactly like Charles Bronson coming off Death Wish kind of deal. Wise Guys looked like a fun mafia movie directed by Brian De Palma. Never seen it. I actually added it to my list to check it out after I was doing some research here today.
I bet Charles Bronson is terrible to be around.
Oh, in film?
Yeah, just in life.
I thought you meant like outside. I was going to be like, why, do you have a story to tell?
I don't know. The characters he plays and the fact that he doesn't do any, he just seems like he probably doesn't, he hates everyone.
Well, I mean, I feel like it's, if you're in a movie with Charles Bronson and he shows any affection towards you, you should be worried because it means that some street gang's probably going to kill you soon. Because I feel like once Death Wish happened, that was like a string of movies for a while of just, yeah, we just like seeing Charles Bronson just get revenge on people. So, as far as the rest of April of 1986, we had Critters, Band of the Hand, and The Toxic Avenger. But the fun thing is directly after this came out. So this came out, as I said, April 18th, 1986. The following month was another screen refresh for Short Circuit, but also Top Gun with Tom Cruise. And then the month after that, in June of 1986, was Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So it was a 1-2 punch of here's Legend with Mia Sara and Tom Cruise, then Top Gun, then Ferris Bueller. So, seeing as this came out first over in the UK, I'm assuming, I don't know if it's just they figure let's release it in the US, which I would expect, if anything, they would release it after Ferris Bueller and Top Gun, unless they weren't expecting that to draw a lot of buzz, and they were expecting this one to kind of get people in seats for the other two, because neither one of them were really huge at the time. I know Tom Cruise was in a bunch of things, but he wasn't like Tom Cruise yet.
Maybe. You're editing the last episode, right? Did you cut my rant about Ridley Scott?
No.
I forgot who was editing it. Yeah. Well, I think it kind of goes hand in hand with that then, because Top Gun doing better than, this kind of shows his point exactly. But
his brother directed Top Gun.
Insult to injury.
Actually, yeah.
It's crazy though to think that Tom Cruise is in both movies, and to place them like, yeah, he literally did one after another. I didn't know he was that young. I knew this was one of his early movies, but I didn't expect it to be like that early. Figured it would have been maybe after Top Gun or something. But even then, it's just, I can't imagine him doing both roles.
Yeah, because the only real ones I know of that he did prior, like off the top of my head, was The Outsiders, when he was just like additional guy in the group.
Yeah, because that had a huge cast, but
oh yeah,
it's not really like a single character movie. There's like 6-7 guys that it focuses all around on.
Yeah, so it's like he was part of the ensemble, but it wasn't like starring Tom Cruise. I think Risky Business was the first one that comes to mind as far as him kind of getting a Tom Cruise vehicle. But it still wasn't enough to make him like Mission Impossible Tom Cruise.
I thought he was fun. I mean, I would look at this movie and be like, oh man, you couldn't have replaced Tom Cruise with anybody. I mean, he did fine, but it wasn't like, I wouldn't say this is a defining Tom Cruise role.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's probably they could have swapped in a number of other people, and it would have still been a similar case. And it's not so much like in terms of his acting. I think it's more so just for the fact that there wasn't a ton for him to do in it.
No,
it was just kind of,
and it's just such a big world.
Not a lot of heavy lifting.
Yeah, it's such a big world and lots of set pieces, and the sum of the movie is greater than just Tom being the main character.
Yeah, because even though he's the main protagonist, I feel like the main character in this movie was really Darkness, played by Tim Curry, because every time his scenes came up, it's just, I was completely glued and, faceted to it. And he was still in his early career, too, at this point, right?
Tim Curry? I mean, by this point, he had already done a bunch of... Rocky
was
Horror
big,
early on and got huge. Originally, I think they were doing, what's his name, Richard O'Brien. They were thinking of having as Meg Mucklebones, the Swamp Hag, which would have had both of them back together again from Rocky Horror. Yeah, before they ended up going with Robert Picardo as the swamp hag Meg Mucklebone, which
I had to
was
do a
not
double take.
expecting.
Nobody would have known that. Just
I
watching it.
I saw the IMDb listing, like, oh, Robert Picardo's in this. I saw the scene, completely forgot it was even him, and then when the credits rolled, I went back to check the cast list, because now I've seen the movie, I can place who was what at what scenes, and then it's like, the hag? Who the fuck? Oh, shit, that was him? The makeup work in this movie was fantastic.
The water hag.
Makeup by Rob Bottin of The Thing and The Howling fame, among literally so many things. He worked in The Fog also, did RoboCop, Total Recall. Like, it's too many things to mention, but it definitely, this was like Rob Bottin's Labyrinth. He just got to go nuts with all of these different things, which I guess the original script was supposed to have more characters, but it became a case of, let's trim them down because we can't do like 1,000 different makeup effects on all these different creatures and all of these different characters. Like, let's try to limit it so we can do a better job with what we have. But yeah, like Rob Bottin, like just Darkness alone, Tim Curry, that is the version of, I know that he's not Satan, but like that's what I think of because of this movie all the time. And that's definitely what they ended up taking for Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny.
That makes sense in hindsight, thinking about it.
But yeah, like Rob Bottin just knocked it out of the park with this one.
Darkness looks great, but I have to be honest, my favorite is Meg Mucklebones. Like, it's just so...
That one's just
it looks so
good.
real and like so fucking grotesque, and I think is more scary looking than him, to be honest.
Well, like, we'll get to it later on, but there's one point where, like, Darkness gets fed up and he just comes charging across a room, and it's like, oh no, that would be terrifying.
Yeah.
Oh, like when he pins her with his horns?
I just remember, like, I think it was
There's
either
two
when
scenes where he intimidatingly comes towards the camera, but one, he's, like, running at Tom Cruise full steam, like, I'm gonna fuck you up.
Yeah. Because that's when he, I think, like, knocks him around, and then he grabs a sword, and it's like, he was dangerous before, I don't want to see him with a sword.
Right.
So yeah, Rob Bottin doing makeup effects in this one, so he'll pop up again. Rob Bottin is, like, with Stan Winston and all of them, they have a hand in everything we probably will end up doing on this show. But the writer for this, because I know we've already mentioned Ridley Scott, I don't think we need to go into him, everybody knows, did a little movie called Alien, he did Blade Runner, he did all the rest of what you grew up with probably. But William Hortzberg, the only other thing I know him from is he wrote Angel Heart with Robert De Niro and Mickey Rourke, which is a fun kind of like a horror noir with Lisa Bonet from the mid 80s or late 80s. So if anybody's never seen that, don't read anything about it. Just go into it. It's a good one.
I shan't.
But in terms of kind of characters, or in terms of kind of everybody and their work in this, I know we mentioned Tom Cruise as Jack, the forest boy. Tim Curry as Darkness. Mia Sara as Lily, the princess. David Bennett as Gump, I actually think is one of my favorite performances other than Tim Curry in this movie. Because everybody does, like, nobody does a bad job. Everybody does good or better. But I really do like David Bennett's role as Gump.
Yes. Even though he's dubbed, the visual performance is like... I wonder why they dubbed him. Like, I don't know the story behind that, but...
His voice might not have matched what they were going for.
Maybe he sounded too old.
I'm Gump. Jack, come to me.
David Bennett actually dubbed Tim Curry as the Lord of Darkness.
They just swap.
Okay,
Jack.
So I know it's IMDb trivia, but the trivia says Blix, the main goblin, the voice actress, the actress, Alice Playton, dubs him, and they do sound similar when you think about it. Gump and Blix, the goblin.
Oh, she dubbed Gump.
She dubbed Gump. But then it says in the German release, his voice is original and he dubs her part, and I don't know what that's from.
I think he's a German actor, because I know.
Okay.
I think he was in, like, the Tin Drum or something.
There you go. That explains it then.
But yeah, like that would make sense then on why they dubbed him and then swapped on the other side.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, Blix was a fun character. We'll get into all of that and Blix's crew, and I referred to them as the Rowdy Boys the entire time.
Dirty Blix and the boys.
But also we had the the two characters that follow along with Gump, Brown Tom and Screwball. And Screwball was Billy Barty, who played the High Aldwin in Willow.
I recognize him pretty quickly. Look and sound.
Oh yeah, just from the voice, it's like you can definitely remember him.
I knew he looked familiar. I just couldn't place it.
Which, as we go through, I will be making my case that Brown Tom and Screwball are objectively better than, what's his name, Frangine and the other one, the two.
I mean, I would agree with you off the bat.
Oh, okay, good. I thought you were gonna like die on that hill.
I'm not on that hill. That's Nick.
Oh,
I
or is it just you didn't hate them in that movie, but it's not like you like them outside of that movie?
Yes.
Okay.
They're different characters too. It's comparing Marion and Pippin to like R2 and 3PO. Like these two were
definitely more Merry and Pippin.
And a lot more serious in terms of at least I mean, they had some levels of incompetency. Like, oh, I have to climb up there and do the thing with the mirror. Okay, I got this. And then he fucking falls asleep. I thought that was a little...
Yeah, I was trying to place, like, how long was it that he's been up there? And it's like, in the movie time, it's been, what, like 4 minutes?
Yeah.
Like that, he should probably get checked when he gets back, because that's concerning if he's, like, climbs to the top and then just conks out.
I mean, he is a small person,
tough
and
climb,
that was a really, really tough climb.
Actually, that was a tall climb. So, as far as the movie that we'll be discussing, I think we all watched the director's cut.
Yes.
So, in regards to kind of the overall differences, I know it's like a half hour or more in terms of the theatrical versus the director's. The other big thing being, originally Jerry Goldsmith did the score of kind of like a fantasy orchestra score. And then when they released it in theaters, I think they wanted to kind of capture a different demographic or kind of make it a little bit more of the time. So they ended up having Tangerine Dream do the soundtrack and then replace it, which I love Tangerine Dream. Like, I have that soundtrack on vinyl. Like, it's very the spacey, dreamy, like kind of 80s sound to it that just is perfect. But I definitely can appreciate the Jerry Goldsmith score going into this now, because I had always seen the theatrical for the most part for years. So coming back and watching this one, I was expecting to be disappointed with the soundtrack because I'm so used to the other. But the score, I know you guys probably didn't notice it, just because usually it's like if the score is serviceable, it doesn't stand out necessarily.
Yeah. When you mentioned the difference, I watched it after you mentioned it, and the whole time I didn't really pick up on kind of any good sound to it. But at the same time, it's like special effects work. If you don't do it right, you notice it immediately. And the same thing with music. If it doesn't service the movie, you're going to notice it immediately. But if it blends in pretty well, I thought it did just that.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to hear the Tangerine Dream version now.
One-horned mule.
It's worth Googling. I mean, it's you can find it. It's like 12 tracks or something like that, but it's solid. It's fun.
There's no straight up music though.
It's everything has like a backing vocal track throughout the movie.
Hey, 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 hey. Ooh.
Go, Jack, go. So we open the movie, we see a goblin walking through the woods at night. It's kind of this like we'll kind of cover it throughout this whole thing, but the whole movie set design, like, it's very fantasy. Like, everything is this grand, wonderful forest with like these popping colors and sweeping winds and like all of this stuff that
somehow looks so natural.
Yeah, like it's gorgeous as far as all of this. I forgot how much I love just the look of all of this area, even regardless of the movie. So when we open with the kind of the blue and whatnot of the night in this forest, and then we have like the red text of all of the credits and legend and everything opening up, we get the castle off in the distance and Darkness introducing himself, of kind of like doing his opening monologue. We have this rolling fog and a fire going and just really setting a great vibe. Especially considering that directly following this, when we go into the daytime in the forest, and that's when we get all the pops of colors and like the fantasy score music and everything.
This is a straight up fairy tale.
Oh yeah,
like not 100%. In a bad way, but like his monologue, like I am the Lord of Darkness.
I like the monologue a lot.
I hate the light.
I am the Lord of Darkness. I require the solace of the shadows and the dark of the night. Sunshine is my destroyer. All this shall change. Tonight, the sun sets forever. There shall never be another dawn.
Sunlight will be my destroyer. Why are you telling people?
Light.
Why are you telling people this?
I like listening to a lot of like synthwave as just background stuff. A lot of the beats are pretty good and whatnot, and a lot of it just kind of harkens back to just 80s movie soundtracks. One reason why I really like it a lot. But one of them, Daniel Deluxe, he samples Darkness, and he does this exact line from Darkness, talking about just, you know, like sunlight is my destroyer. And then it also cuts in Miyasaro's line, just her yelling out no. And for years, I never understood what that came from until finally, like, hey, I know this.
Oh, yeah, because I think you showed me that track, and that's been on my plate. Like, I love that song.
Yeah, it's pretty solid. And just the fact that they cut in just random 80s quotes really works. And especially with this one, it just fits that theme and aesthetic. I almost feel like I can watch the movie on mute and have that song going on. It could fit some of the scenes.
Send it to me.
I think that's a cool idea, just for the fact that since we said most of the movie isn't huge in terms of acting plot-wise, of there's not a lot of information being exchanged other than some key points, this would be kind of a cool movie because it's so visual, of having a visual album to go with it, of just here's all music and no words. But I like how, I know you mentioned that you would have liked more darkness in this, but I like that they don't reveal him until later. Yeah. Especially like right now, you only see like the clawed hand talking from over on the throne and whatnot. We never actually see him until much later in the film.
Yeah, you literally don't see him until like an hour 15, with like half an hour left in the movie.
But what an entrance. Like Prince of Darkness is his way into a room. So Darkness tasks his goblin Blix to kill the unicorn and return their horns. Why? Because as Nick said, he hates the light, he loves the darkness, and the unicorns kind of represent that power and innocence and everything that he needs to get rid of them, and that way he can get an eternal night.
And the horn is super powerful too.
Yeah. Which we never actually really see get used that much. It just has a lot of power, but...
Well, we see it a lot.
Blix
the
uses
goblin,
it.
Yeah, the goblin uses it a fuck ton.
Yeah, but he uses it just to like... Look how big I can get this
to light
fire.
his farts on fire.
Smash that tree.
I made a note later, and it just made me laugh on how the wand is barely used through the entire movie, except that one time where he starts to cackle with the most evil of might just to move a chair.
Yeah, I mean, like, the only time we really see the power of the horn is Blix just messing with it and just, like, smashing around in a house, like, doing things outside a campfire. Yeah, so we kind of jump directly into the forest scene the next day, and this is where we kind of see the daylight, we see the bright colors, we see, like, all of the pollen everywhere. Everything is coated in thick pollen in this movie.
Everybody just reaches for their tissues when the scene comes on.
Like, I'm just surprised. Like, they're literally, throughout the beginning, they're standing there talking, and you just see all of this thick pollen blowing past them. And I don't know if that was supposed to add to, like, the fantasy forest element, but, like...
I think it does,
my
but
eyes water looking at it.
I think it does add to that. But it simultaneously just, makes you think you're going to start...
Cuts back to Jack, his eyes are swollen. He's like, I have a ragweed thing.
Let me come to your castle and live, please. Take me away.
Oh, sorry. We don't have room. You don't have room at the castle? Yeah, we don't have room.
Sorry, I don't know if I missed something. Or if this like movie logline blurb was wrong, but it referenced Lily. Is it Lily or Letty? Lily?
Lily. Letty was from Fast and the Furious.
Letty.
Sunshine is my destroyer.
You look a bit tired. I think you should go upstairs and give me a massage.
I've found my true mate, and you know it.
Tom Cruise, Michelle Rodriguez,
Your
legend.
family, Letty. Referencing
she
her
fights
being
Tim Curry at the end.
being a fairy princess, which I didn't think made any sense.
Yeah, I don't think she was a fairy princess.
Okay, yeah.
She was just a
so.
princess. They didn't say of what kingdom or where she's from. Just she's a princess.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I saw something that was like, the darkness wants to marry a fairy princess. I'm like, that doesn't sound right.
But he'll settle for her. I'm glad throughout the movie we never find out like where Jack was from. Like, he's a forest boy. Okay, does he have a village? Does he live by himself like Nell out in the woods? Like, Lily has a kingdom that she's from. She's the princess, clearly. But we never see her family, her castle, any of that. Which I like, because then it kind of, I don't know, adds like an interesting air of mystery to the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, in the beginning, it annoyed me for about halfway through the movie. Like, who the fuck are these people? Every time I saw Tom Cruise, I imagined he had like the same outfit as Robin Williams in Hook. It was so similar, and it's like, I wanted to know more because my mind kept thinking he's like Peter Pan, but he's not. Then what is he? And that's the part that kept triggering my head of that question. But then about halfway through, I realized they're not going to tell me. Maybe this is for the better. And instead of always being spoon-fed every single detail of a movie, it just leaves it ambiguous for the person to try to imagine. She's a princess. To what? I don't know. Think of something. He's a forest boy. To what? I don't know. The forest. He's just a forest boy. Oh, okay. And just leave it at that.
I mean, then it ends up becoming a case of what they are beyond this or outside of this is unimportant, because the only thing of importance right now is what's happening in the next like 90 minutes kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
Of this might just be another day for Jack. He might run into different things like this. This might be completely wacky for him, seen as like he clearly is not ready to kind of go to war against darkness, but also he's pretty spry, handles himself pretty well, shoots a pretty good arrow, so it's like he's kind of aware of how to do all of this, so...
Listen, Jack, I know this is completely wacky for you.
It's your first day, I know, I understand.
So if he's a boy of the forest, of ambiguous nature, but he knows that unicorns are sacred animals, but he's never met Honeycomb Gump or whatever his name is.
Well, he could be like Tom Bombadil and just he's a figure of legend and no one's seen them, he just knows of them.
I mean, or it could be a case of like all of the fantastic creatures and whatnot. It's we stay over on our side, or like we stay away from the humans being able to see us kind of deal until you just screwed all this up. So we're going to come out of the woodwork so we can talk.
There's like a Berlin Wall somewhere in the forest.
That wall of dust or pollen. Oh no, she penetrated the veil.
In the distance, all of them just like they've been standing there the whole time. In the background, they just shake off the dust. And it's like, oh my God.
You're a completely different person.
We've been here for hours, Jack. So yeah. So we have Lily, the princess. Like everything, as I said, like is gorgeous. It's cool with the effects of like there's dragonflies and bugs flying around, and even those have kind of cool fantasy element to them. But Lily, like back years ago when I saw this, I thought Lily was originally like a fairy princess or like a sprite of some sort, because she goes in and the woman Nell is working outside a cottage outside of college. She's working outside a cottage on the laundry, and she runs by and like pulls it down, but then runs away and the woman doesn't see her. And I thought this was like a Jack Frost situation of like, she just hops around being mischievous and nobody knows who it is kind of deal. And then she walks inside the cottage and the other woman walks in and is happy to see her. And it's like, oh, okay, no. So you're just messing with her and you guys are friends.
That's right. She does say bloody fairies.
I was expecting, and especially, I'm not familiar with Spriggans, but at least in the last expansion of World of Warcraft, they're a prominent figure in one of the zones. And they're just like little gremlin fairy type people that just basically cause mayhem. And they're like the brownies from Willow.
Yeah, because I think of Spriggans as like a dryad type thing.
Yeah, and it's just like they're just mischief makers. And I'm expecting to see them through the whole movie, and I'm kind of realized like, oh, I guess not. Because when she mentioned those damn fairies, that's what I was expecting.
Yeah, because I think the only thing we really see is Una later.
Yep.
Which some people say fairy, some people say sprite.
Tomato.
Tomato.
So while Lily's waiting inside the house, she sees like the clock goes off, and all of a sudden she has a vision of the clock and the room covered in snow.
Which is a spooky fucking clock, by the way.
Oh, yeah. It's like the clock opens instead of a cuckoo. It's like a rotating, like a like a skeleton thing and some person. It's like, is this to show you that death chases everyone?
Yeah,
like every hour on the hour, mortality. So yeah, the woman comes in, Lily ends up wandering the forest and runs into Jack, the forest boy, played by Tom Cruise. And Jack and Lily, as we said, they're kind of totally into each other. They're entranced on their little date. Lily brought him cookies from Nell that she said she made herself, and then she immediately broke down and was like, I took those from Nell.
So let me ask you a question. Since this is not your first viewing, when was your first viewing? You were a kid?
Yeah, I was probably like, I don't know, 7, 8.
So watching this as an adult, I have a feeling my view on Lily might be different than yours. So what did you think of her when you first met her?
The first time?
Just in general, like, did you have any, what is your overall opinion of her leading up to getting captured?
I mean, I thought she was a little aloof. Like the whole idea of her going in, getting introduced to like, let me show you these unicorns, and then just messing everything up. And then her whole argument is, sorry, I just kind of wanted to. It's like, you're kind of the worst. Yeah. Watching this now, she still is for the first third of the movie, but then she kind of really makes up for it on the back end. Because you see, it's like, oh no, she's actually like, she's trying.
I didn't catch that.
Did you not like her the whole time?
No, pretty much.
Oh.
The last quarter was just a little different, only because I couldn't tell how far the hypnotism went, because some of it was just, I don't know. I don't think it was. We'll get to it later. But in the beginning half, I felt she was definitely a brat, and just I felt she was using Tom Cruise for everything that she wanted, and she disobeyed every direct request of his. I thought it was messed up. And then on top of like meeting her for the first time, she fucks with the woman's laundry. She steals the cookies, and then she manages to be given the cookies so it's not stolen anymore. And then she's like, yeah, here, Tom Cruise, have these cookies. I made them. And then not even missing it, like almost like she's a compulsive liar.
Yeah, which I'm glad at least she came clean.
I mean, I agree she's a bratty shit at the beginning, but I don't think
we're supposed to know how old they are.
Oh, who knows?
I mean, this could be like a teenager thing. The first time I saw this as a kid, I hadn't seen Ferris Bueller until like a couple years after that point, because I saw this first. So I had no frame of reference to be like, oh, it's fine. It's Sloane. We like her.
I only know her as Sloane. I don't remember her leaving the 80s.
So after the exchange of cookies, Jack blindfolds Lily to show her a surprise. And then sells her directly to darkness. No, so he leads her to a pool that the unicorns are all at.
She's like, you don't trust me? And I'm like, you should be the one to trust him. He's blindfolding you
in the forest. Boy blindfolding me, leading me blindly into the forest.
She takes the blindfold off. She's back at Nell's cottage. Jack throws her under the bus. So she stole those cookies from you.
I mean, he's right to not trust her in the end.
Yeah. She's already established that, like, she's willing to steal. She's mischievous. Jack should be worried. So he takes her to the pool where the unicorns are at. And I like how Blix the Goblin and his rowdy boys are, like, hiding off in the forest. And they see the unicorns, and he says, ugly one-horned mules. Which, throughout the entire time, like, we get it, man. You guys don't like things that are like clean or nice. There's one pig guy that's with him that's like, we should use the horn and make a big pile of garbage. Like, yeah. Too far, man. You're making it a lifestyle now. So, as we said, Lily ruins everything by trying to go play with this unicorn. She's singing her song, drives the unicorns berserk. They panic. They're running around while Blix is preparing poison darts. And she calms it down with her music just in time for Blix to just get a shot off at it.
Yeah, it runs up. It runs up to her like it's going to gore her with its horn.
I thought a couple of times.
And just like circles her.
Just ragdolls her.
It's like, what are you doing in my swamp?
The only time I've seen hostile unicorns is in that game Overlord. And it's set in a mythical kind of fantasy realm just like this. And when you throw your minions at a unicorn, it attacks back. And it does use its horn against you. And when that thing was charging for a quick second, I thought, like, no, there's no way in hell it's going to. But it did cross my mind.
It just gores her with the horn. Jack goes to help. It just donkey kicks him.
Jack slinks away whistling like...
Blix is just looking surprised from the forest. Oh.
Like Jack just whistles like... just walks away.
As we said, Blix gets a shot off on it. Jack's upset with Lily for touching the unicorn. So she sings to him until he's happy again. Meanwhile, Blix is leading his guys off. She tries to get away with that multiple times of just like, but listen to my song.
Yeah, she's gonna get whatever the hell she wants in life.
Well, yeah, he's like, they're a
away.
sacred creature. Yeah, it's like, they're a sacred creature. We shouldn't be like touching it. You're not supposed to interact like I asked you not to. And it's like, I'm sorry, but I wanted to. Want to hear a song? And then he's perfectly fine again. It's like, okay. Give me that needle drop. So, as we said, like, Blix is hunting down the unicorn now, which I assume the poison dart was just to weaken it to help them track it faster, seeing as it'll be lethargic.
I think because they couldn't get close to it without the pure Lily drawing it in.
That's what was, yes.
So
that makes sense now.
Essentially just, neutralizes that whatever. Not neutralizes the effect, but just makes it not be able to get away.
But why is Jack not purer than her then, if that's the case? Because she's already established she lies, she steals.
It's true.
Like, what has Jack done in his life?
Yeah, he's very respectful of the ways of the forest, so I don't know.
He knows the streets, so he's got them street smarts. And she's just that naive little white girl walking through the neighborhood, not thinking that she could possibly be in danger with every turn. Trusting random Lost Woods boys.
He said the unicorns don't have impure thoughts, but I think they look at Jack like Aladdin, like, yeah, he's a street rat, and they're like, he's a dirt person, so we're not gonna go next to him. Hey, this is a princess, like, we could be seen in public with her.
She's royalty, she can get us a job in the kingdom. I could be the royal horse. He's an urchin. Or maybe it's because Jack has done terrible things prior to the start of this movie that we don't know of, and that's why he's in the forest. Like, got into a card game and killed a guy back at wherever it is that she's from. Lily tells him, whoever finds my ring, she'll marry. So she takes her ring off and yeets it into the pool. And Jack immediately dives off after it. And she panics because she wasn't expecting him to go jumping off into this kind of like lake looking for this thing. And then this was kind of like a cool scene, like triple scene thing going on, of the underwater shots of Jack looking for the ring, and then it's cutting to like the blizzard happening, like the thunder and lightning and the storm is starting up where she is, and like the cherry blossoms falling by the unicorn as Blix walks into the scene to go kill the unicorn, and everything's like jumping back and forth between these three scenes alternating. And I thought it was just kind of cool because you have like the stark blue of the water, you have like the stark white from the blizzard and the storm starting up, and then you have the cherry blossoms falling as in slow-mo as he's walking in. Great job, Ridley Scott.
I thought at first, like, she started to freak out. Like, I didn't know why she started to freak out, I guess. Like,
Agreed.
all she did was jump off into the water.
Yeah. When the blizzard started, the thunder and lightning and just the enhanced wind, she was going fucking crazy and reacting to it. And meanwhile, Tom Cruise is just oblivious until, he goes up for air.
Maybe she didn't want to marry Jack. And then as soon as he dove in, she was like, wait, no.
She didn't realize he's like a Ron Burgundy type. It's like, I didn't think you'd take me seriously.
As a princess, I'd like to keep my options open. I'm just not ready.
That was kind of a tourist here. I was just coming in to kind of hang out for the day. She throws the ring in. He jumps in after it. She runs to the edge of the pool to look in. You just see his body floating on top of the water. Oh. I guess it's shallower than we thought. So, yeah. So, as we said, like, jumping between all these different scenes. And then Blix walks in with his crew and kills the unicorn. And Jack ends up getting trapped under the ice forms over the top of that lake thing. And Jack gets trapped underneath as Blix takes the horn from the unicorn kind of deal.
Slight correction. He didn't kill it.
Yeah, I thought it died originally. And then later, it's like, oh, no, he just took the horn.
Yeah.
Which is weird, because he was given explicit instruction to kill them.
Yeah. Because, granted, it's, the horn has power, but I thought he said pretty clear instructions.
You must find them for me and destroy them.
What do they look like, Lord? Where should I look, sire? What be this bait? Please, you teach me.
Fool!
Yeah, he was very lenient on second chances, too. Like, he didn't, That seems like a pretty egregious fuck-up.
I don't understand villains sometimes. Like, he had the unicorn in the basement. Why couldn't you just kill it? Why wait? Why monologue? Just
had to James Bond it. You gotta James Bond it.
And if that's the case, if they caught the second one, why didn't they go and kill the first one? Like, clearly it was, I want to kill the second unicorn. Okay, well, you didn't kill the first unicorn, so why are you going to kill this one now?
Maybe without the horn, I don't know.
It's just a horse?
Maybe they realized, the horn is, I'm a hornless unicorn.
Should I go back and kill it?
It's just a horse now. I have no qualms with horses.
What do you call it? A mule?
Yeah. Ugly one-horned mules. So, yeah, Jack is trapped under the ice, so Lily runs back to the cottage as this blizzard kind of sweeps in, which originally, maybe it could have been more pollen. I guess now it's snow. So she runs back to the cottage, and everything is frozen, including her friends.
That I don't understand, but
I really thought that would have been magic at first, and not just they froze solid.
Yeah. It was more like they were frozen in time kind of deal of them just stuck. Nope, they're icicles.
Because I thought they might have had something to do with this is a magical land. One of the unicorns losing its horn, for all we know, all of the country
folk. Like a release of energy?
Yeah, and all the country folk just froze because that's part of it. It did say that, who's this, my own headcanon, one of them might control life, and that's why everything just froze solid. And then the other one controls, the day.
Yeah, and that's why they wanted the second one, because once both are done, they get night or something like that.
Yeah.
I thought maybe it's just the power of these unicorns make that forest hospitable, because normally it's terraformed. This entire place is just a barren, cold wasteland, and as soon as a unicorn dies, it turns back into that, and everybody just flash freezes.
I guess with Darkness's grand plans of darkness, that it seemed like a world
pending,
like a planet-wide phenomenon. I guess that in my head that's what it was. I guess I like to think that these people unfroze and are now alive at the end of the movie once things are back to normal. But
yeah, because they were frozen, but I just didn't take it as a Mr. Freeze frozen, more just frozen in time.
Yeah, because they literally are standing up frozen, what they were doing, and now they're just stopped.
And with all the glitter, I couldn't tell if it was them shimmering.
Yeah, I would have to assume that's the case, because they're kind of Lily's laughing at the end, and they're having a good time, and it's if her friends were still dead in that cottage, I don't think that would be as cheery of her calling it a day, especially since it was a baby in that cottage.
Not anymore.
Right.
So all of her friends are frozen. Blix arrives with the Rowdy Boys in search of Lily, and they kind of remind me, I know you guys haven't seen it, but they remind me of the goblins at the end of Little Nemo that join his party, of these, one's clever, one's oafish, it's very typical of this. I guess originally there was supposed to be 4 goblins in this group, or 4 little people from this crew, the little pig guy, the bucket head one, and Blix. So Blix shows off some magic tricks with the horn as they trash the place. And then one of them says, I can eat her brains like jam. Because Because that caught me off guard, because I haven't seen this since I was a kid. And watching it now, it's like, I wouldn't say it's not anything that's like, oh, that's too intense. No, I think it's perfectly fine for like when I was watching it, because there's nothing overly terrible or bad. It just caught me off guard that one of them said I could eat her brains like jam, and the other one said something about like, I want to suck her bones or something like that.
Yeah.
So
we had a discussion while watching it, and it is before Temple of Doom, I think, and Gremlins, I'm assuming. Because this movie is...
Yeah, it's a PG movie. It's before the whole PG-13 renaissance.
Yeah, because this definitely would not fly as PG if it were made to be more modern.
Oh, no, yeah, it would be PG-13 now. Plus the fact that later on we'll get to like the dungeon or whatever it is, but it's like just like people getting chopped in the background and like blood skulls and...
Yeah, one guy's eviscerated and you see everything.
It's like very Conan going on.
Mm-hmm.
Coming into this, I thought there was a scene in this with kittens being baked into a pie. And then I remembered that was a different movie, Young Einstein. And they don't get...
Wait,
have you seen Young Einstein with Yahoo Serious? Yeah. There's a scene where I don't know what it is. There's a scene with...
I don't remember that.
Yeah, a guy is like baking... He's like putting kittens into a pie. They go in the oven, but Yahoo Serious saves them. I don't know what the context was, but that's... And I was like, oh, that's in this movie, because it had that same vibe in my head as that butcher jail cell scene. And I was like, oh, wait, that's not this movie. I looked it up. I was like, why is that in that Young Einstein movie? I don't remember the context, but in any case,
it's not this. Why is it that?
Yeah, I thought there was going to be a kitten pie in this movie.
Yeah. So join us next month for Young Einstein. Famous Yahoo Serious vehicle. So while Lily is trying to hide from Blix, and I think she escapes at that point after they end up leaving, Jack wakes up in the snow by a fire and meets Gump of the Forest, a Forrest Gump, if you will. So this is him and his crew. You can laugh, Dean. It's okay.
No.
So Gump explains that he knows everything but doesn't know why the storm hit, and the forest folk are getting riled up when they find out that Jack showed Lily the unicorn and that no mortal can lay hands on the unicorn.
Is that all of a sudden is that a euphemism?
Nobody can throw hands on a unicorn.
Did you show her they're a unicorn?
So
she just wanted to touch the unicorn. Sorry.
It's a lot of like elbow poking and winking.
Say no more, say no more.
So they trade out the pollen for bubbles now, for some reason at this point, which
what the
seems
fuck
ridiculous. But I just love it because the entire movie just seems like a kid's dream in terms of all of the sets and things like that. So go for it. Go nuts with some bubbles. So Gump asks Jack a riddle, otherwise he'll kill him for his transgressions against the forest people. Something along the lines of, what is a bell that does not ring, but sound makes angels sing? Which Jack guesses bluebell flowers, because it's
but how? How is that the answer, though?
I have no idea, but Gump was having none of it because he lost his mind.
When he freaked out, I was like, what just happened? He threw a tantrum like a
melting.
child. Yeah, like yeah, Raiders. It was like he looked at the ark.
Grabs Jack with both hands as his face just melts.
You bested me, Jack.
He looks over Brown Tom and Screwball. Their faces start going too.
It's not that dissimilar from when Gollum lost the ring.
Yeah, the riddle contest.
So yeah, Gump gets over it. So Gump is like laying on the ground, freaking out, and then he calms down and ends up hopping up and becoming friends with Jack and introduces him to the forest friends, and they share elderberry wine, and that's when we get our own Merry and Pippin here. That's Brown Tom and Screwball, two kind of, I don't know if they were supposed to just be old gnomes or what the...
Maybe they were Spriggan?
They're dwarves? They look like dwarves. Well, gnomes.
Yeah,
their race is never mentioned by name, so it's just... I'm just going by what was given to me so far, and since that name was brought up, maybe that's what they were referring to.
There's a forest gump,
I just thought of them as like
boy.
gnomes.
A forest gnome. Everything's forest. Forest fairies. Forest darkness.
Forrest Gump.
I will say I do like how he had such a radical different approach to his the result of the his riddle. So it's either A, I'm gonna kill you, or B, you're my new best friend. And that's exactly what happens.
Gump just springs to his feet. Did we just become best friends?
Yup.
Gump,
a second riddle, Jack. What's your favorite dinosaur? Go.
Enter at the same time.
3, 2, 1, Velociraptor. Ah.
Yeah, you almost expect him to be flipping a coin, like, before you see him at this point.
What, like a call it friendo situation?
Yeah. Guess
Jack
I just made a friend
just puts a cattle thing to him.
Yeah. Gump is a fucking loose cannon.
That's what this forest needs. So yeah, while all of this is going on, Lily continues running through the woods while Jack's crew braves the blizzard to find her. And Jack ends up finding the unicorn buried in the snow as the mate arrives to make him feel especially bad. And as you said before, I thought they killed the unicorn, and it was like, oh, the corpse is here, buried under the snow. And then it's, oh no, it's sleeping or like it's injured, and they have to return the horn. Which I don't know what kind of surgery they do to put a horn back on a unicorn.
Duct tape.
I bet they just
duct tape.
slap it on.
Thank you, Jack. Gump gets it at the end, spits on it, and just sticks it right on.
You hear the brrr as he rips open a roll of duct tape. The unicorn just is like, Jack, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed.
No, it gores him.
Now you'll need to give me your horn in the meantime.
And then the horse gives him whatever the equivalent of an elbow and a wink is. So Jack apologizes to the unicorn, which, sure. So the camera angles in that scene make the horse look huge because they do it from like a low angle looking up with Jack in the foreground and the horse in the background. But it ends up making look like the horse is 15 feet taller than Jack is.
He can just like understand the unicorn like telepathically talks to him or something. Or he just knows what he's thinking. Or
I did like
he took wild speak at level 3.
I liked how they made the unicorn sound like a whale. It really added to the mysticism behind it.
I have a note here, like, are there whales flying in the fucking air around this forest? Like,
I don't know. I never see unicorns and stuff, and I can't think of any like modern day occurrence of where you see a unicorn besides like Harry Potter and the fucking Despicable Me movie. Like those are the last 2 instances I can recall, and then outside of that,
is that a Harry Potter movie?
Yeah. Yeah.
Harry Potter and the fucking Despicable Me. Sorry.
JK just will not stop with these epilogues.
I just think it's funny because, like, with a fucking unicorn, it's like, you know, how can you tell me they're fake, but giraffes are real? Like, what's more believable, a horse with a horn or a leopard moose camel with a 40-foot neck? So, I mean, you would think with how popular they are, at least in, you know, mystic or mythical kind of fairy tales and shit, you would see them pop up a little bit more. Maybe I'm just out of the loop when it comes to unicorns. But their portrayal here was kind of nice to see, and I the whole whale sounding thing really added a lot to it instead of just horses with big horns taped to their noses.
It gave them like that mystical significance that everybody revered them as in this movie.
Yeah,
because it's like, oh, that's the 2 unicorn are like they're sacred. We don't touch them. They help bring like everything to this forest and whatnot. That if they just like came out and clopped around a little bit and were like, it wouldn't have the same effect as what they did, which I had read, as you mentioned, like that they use whale noises for the unicorn, but I thought it was going to be like a Jurassic Park situation of, oh, they used all these different animal sounds and they like did a blend to create the perfect roar for the T-Rex, and then they come out and it's just like straight whale noise.
It's straight it's literally recorded humpback whale. That's all it is.
Clever.
Then Jack looks slightly up and you see one going through the sky.
Yeah,
it's like,
where that's what I was expecting. I have to say, side note, I was probably at an embarrassing age when I realized that narwhals were not fake creatures either.
Yeah,
wait,
like
narwhals are real?
How the fuck are unicorns fake, but a narwhal is real? Like, I would imagine more a horse with a horn than a whale with a horn. How many fish creatures can you think of with horns? Apparently
I thought
one.
that was a mystical being.
Yeah.
Well, I learned something today.
Yeah. Yep. Google narwhal. And you're like, yeah.
You know, they're the Jedi of the sea.
They stop Cthulhu eating ye. So Jack talks to the unicorn, and then he goes back, and Gump ends up asking Jack to tell him, what did the unicorn say? Which I would have loved if it was like the unicorn said, blood for blood, I have to kill one of you. Take Screwball. So Jack ends up explaining the whole thing of they need a champion to go return the horn, and that he'll end up going because he feels guilty, and Gump is kind of on board with him going, and they'll join his party as this little kind of fellowship deal, which also I found out during this movie that the unicorn is the beast and alicorn is the actual horn.
I didn't know that either. I caught that. I meant to make a note of it. I'll be honest, a lot of my notes are pretty thin, only because I've never seen this before, so I was trying to take it all in. But I caught that, but I never knew that before.
I was getting, like, while we were watching it, I was getting so caught up in just the visual of everything that I kept having to remind myself of, like, take notes. Because as I'm watching it, I just want to kind of, like, pick out everything in the scene and be like, well, that looks cool. So yeah, so Jack is guided by a fairy to his starter equipment, where he ends up crawling into, like, this gold area, and he ends up getting this sword and his armor and the shield. And then the fairy transforms into a woman and offers to be anything Jack wants her to be, which sounds
PG.
Yeah. Who are you? Anyone you want me to be, Jack.
With all that loot in that room.
Yeah, what is this billion-dollar room?
Hidden. Secret. Safe.
It's the Cave of Secrets.
There should be a dragon in that fucking room with how much gold there is in there.
Yeah, there was. There was more glitter on that fucking room than on Tom Cruise's face through the whole movie. But what I don't get is that why the fuck did he leave that whole room and still walk out without pants?
You have like all my same notes. I'm like, he Porky Pigs it with the armor. Like
with all the glitter in that movie, armored and no pants, Tom Cruise. We sure this isn't the Tim Curry orgy movie? Because at any point, I'm waiting for the musical to break out.
Like, you need some greaves, man.
He really
does. Legs are going to get fucked up.
He has +3 hot pants throughout this entire film. He's got like a Robin situation going on.
I mean, at the same time, like, you know, they still make female armor as just like metal bikinis, and they do fine. So
in his defense, though, he is always like crouched down, so his legs are somewhat protected. And the man is able to do like a 720 flip from a crouching position. So that's... I do give him more credit than I guess that...
if their world had the Olympics, man, he would crush.
Absolutely.
That's true, because at the end, like, Darkness takes a swing at him, and from a crouch position, he just does like a 360 front flip back onto his crouch position. Meanwhile, Blix and the Rowdy Boys partied up in celebration when Darkness arrives, and then Helmet Goblin, which we'll get to later... But he takes the horn from Blix and then tries to overthrow Darkness before getting manhandled by a mummy. And then he says, adios, amigo, as he gets dragged into the pit.
Yeah, he accepted his fate there.
Adios, amigos! Wow.
Yeah, he's like, can't you people take a joke?
Didn't they think, because what's his face? Pox face or whatever, the pig. He was like, a witch, Like, they didn't know it was Darkness at first, right?
I mean, Pox might not have. I think Pox might not
I think
be
that's
operating
why
at full capacity.
Bubble Butt grabbed the... What's his name?
Blix.
No, the other one.
Blunder.
Helmet Head Blunder. Went after him.
I mean, Pox is also the one who was like, we should use the magic and create a big pile of garbage. Meanwhile, Darkness wants to, like, overthrow light as a concept, and Pox is just... But what if we have like a 4-foot pile of garbage?
Bar so low you can trip over it.
Yeah. Adios amigos, he ends up getting dragged down into the pit. And then Darkness kind of explains as long as one unicorn remains, he doesn't have full power. So I'm guessing then it is just a case of just separate the horse from the horn, and then that breaks their control or like breaks whatever it is that they have. So killing the second one later on, I wonder if darkness would have been perfectly fine if it was just like, just take the horn, I don't need to kill the horse, which is kind of nice. Still wants to overthrow light, but...
Horses are a big part of my new plans.
So, I like how Darkness explains that in order to have full power, he needs to defeat the second unicorn because they only have the one horn so far. And Blix pushes back on that and says, she's just a female lord. She has no power, which is not very progressive.
Oh, no.
Of his goblin crew.
I took it more like she's just, she's human versus all of the other mythical creatures throughout that land.
Oh, I thought Blix was referring to the second unicorn, because the unicorns were mates.
Never mind.
Yeah, so there's a stallion and a mare.
Because if that's the... You know a lot about horses, Dean.
I
learned
do husbandry
things today now.
Well, husbandry business.
So Blix kind of says, like, we don't have to worry about the second one. Like, it's just a female, which Darkness is clearly on board with. It has power. It has a horn. Like, go kill it. So Lily, still on the run, ends up getting to, I believe, Brown Tom, just in time for the goblins to arrive. And Brown Tom ends up grabbing his frying pan and fends off all these arrow shots from the goblins as he's, like, doing trick things behind his back and, like, under his legs and, like, deflecting arrows. And then just gets one right in the dome.
You just can't beat me! You can't! You go to this duck! They done for me.
Which I didn't understand the joke later of how he was alive.
I thought it was a bad joke. Because the whole time I'm thinking, like, you're not dead. It clearly missed. And he just really wrote it home.
Well, the original cut was the arrow goes 3 inches lower, right through his right eye and out the back of his head. And Lily runs. So, as we said, Brown Tom is fending off these. He gets shot right in the head and goes down for Jack's crew to find him after Lily's captured and taken away. And then Brown Tom believes himself to be dead and says, they shot me in me brain pan. But it turns out to just be his hat. They take the hat off. Surprise, surprise. The arrow went through like his elderberry wine bottle or something like that.
Then again, with how rare that stuff is, I also thought I was probably dead.
Just kill me now, my alcohol. Brown Tom is Jones in the rest of the movie.
Probably why he fell asleep.
So he ends up asking, are you guys dead too? They're not. And they decide to kind of take that fellowship together to go assault the Darkness Castle and get back Lily, if that's the case, now that they know she's in the hands of Darkness. End of Act 1. Please turn to side 2.
That is not the end of Act 1.
So Darkness's castle, like, it's, for everything else that looks so cool in the movie, I think the exteriors of the castle don't look as cool as, like, the evil fortress in
very
Willow.
Unassuming outside.
Yeah.
It looks abandoned.
Yeah. So it just looks like a castle. The inside's kind of cool, but the outside is just very blasé. But it's surrounded by a swamp.
I will say, before we get into that, the first half of the movie, you were complimenting the set design, but I actually thought the opposite. I didn't like the exterior wood sets. It felt like it actually took me out of the movie a little bit, thinking that, this is clearly a movie set. However, once they got to the swamp and in the castle, completely gone. That's, I feel, where all of the set design focus went, because the way that they were able to portray, like, the kitchen, the dungeon, Darkness's throne room, and even the whole swamp area itself, completely immersed.
Yeah, I mean, I agreed that it looked good. I liked all of it. I liked the aesthetic of the forest, but...
Some shots, because you could tell badass. Some of them were actually done outside in a real... I don't want to say on location, but they just shot it outside versus on a soundstage.
Yeah, like when he jumps off into the pool and whatnot, that obviously looks like very movie set.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, I can definitely see the exterior I loved, and I still like the interior too, but I can definitely see your point in terms of the interiors they had a very unique look of between the very gothic Mordor looking dungeon with the fire pits and things, and then you have the the high columned, very cold looking like halls that she's running through and whatnot. It had a very cool design that itself was unique compared to the rest of it.
Yeah.
Plus, it seems weird that every window you look out of in that place is just like stars. That I kept thinking that it was like it's out into some sort of void that only exists inside there. It's not actually windows looking outside.
Well, it'd be really fucked up for the one thing that could kill him. He has windows everywhere to look out for the morning sun.
I've been meaning to ask you to take care of this.
It's on my list to do, sire.
Blix, I said blackout curtains.
It's like a Ray-Ban sunglasses commercial. So the Fellowship arrives at the castle, and they go to the swamp, and they send Screwball in to navigate the swamp first, which Screwball is not excited about on why do I always have to do these things. And then he gets pulled underwater, and then we have a swamp hag that jumps out to attack Jack, named Meg Mucklebones.
Very Witcher.
Very Witcher.
Very old Greg.
Well, I thought it was interesting.
It was old Greg that popped up.
Meg Mucklebones jumps out and asks Jack, has he ever drinking Bailey's from a shoe?
Yeah.
Got a lot of nice things here.
So, Meg Mucklebones, like, I know you mentioned this was your favorite design in the movie, Nick.
I said that.
The design is just... Wait, you said that?
Dean said that.
Yes.
I confuse you guys all the time.
Yeah.
You both have
It's a close second, though. His design was really well done, and I was looking for Robert Picardo through the whole movie, and I didn't realize it was him. That's how good it was.
Like, I was trying to listen to at least the voice.
Nothing. I didn't get anything.
Nothing.
That was so well done. Completely.
So, like, good job on the makeup, and also good job to Robert Picardo, especially just seeing him in Small Soldiers last month, and then seeing him in this, and it's like, I would not know unless your name popped up in those credits.
I couldn't tell if he was like on like a pneumatic like platform that was like swinging him around too.
Like a stage show?
The movements were like unnatural, but didn't look weird, but it's just like a human can't be doing that, can he? It was
well,
cool.
They replaced all of Robert Picardo's bones with animatronics at the start of this film.
I thought they just turned him into an old hag.
Actual magic.
Actual magic.
I just like how they introduce him like a stage show at a rock concert of just like the platform comes up, he just bursts out from the water.
It was an Alice Cooper show.
All of a sudden the platform rotates and he's playing drums upside down. So yeah, like I love the design on Meg Mucklebones. Like you said, I still like Darkness more, but it was cool how being from the swamp, even the skin has that like slimy texture look to it and everything.
Yep.
Yeah, it looks uncomfortable as hell to like be. I know he's under makeup and he's not feeling all of that grime, but it looks like unnerving.
Just internal screaming.
Yes.
So Meg Mucklebones attacks or begins discussing how she's going to eat Jack. And Jack sweet talks his way out of it by tricking her into staring at her reflection in his shield, and then lops her head off with a sword in kind of the old one too.
I was wondering if it looked like she got decapitated.
I thought so, yeah.
But then like she's just like screaming still. still making noises.
She picks her own head up and then goes back into the swamp. Jack never sleeps another night soundly again. I'll find you, Jack. I expected Meg Mucklebones to be like more of a thing throughout this because as a kid, I always thought it was a crawl scenario of the party hits all of these different points where they have to overcome something. But for the most part, this is a very quick thing with Meg Mucklebones. Then they get inside and it's like a very, like not a huge thing with the dungeon situation, but then they're pretty much at darkness. So there's not a whole lot of stops that they make on the way there. There's not a lot of defense on the darkness team. I mean, I don't even know if darkness is aware that Meg Mucklebones is out there or if she just kind of set up shop in his swamp.
Sire, what about Meg?
What?
The hag.
Come again? Jack, that was my wife.
So, inside the Darkness Castle, we have a very creepy, like, human throne with glowing eyes and also a lot of glitter. which I didn't really know what the deal was with the throne the entire time, because Darkness kept trying to get her to like sit in that chair, and I don't know if that was like some
I didn't realize
possession chair or.
Well, it sounds like it's his dad.
Oh yeah, because he did
it's
look at it at one point.
Yeah, he's like father,
was like
and talks to it.
I'm sorry I couldn't prevent you from being turned into a chair. I was young. I didn't know magic, Daddy.
I didn't because you see that first shot of it here when it does that dolly into darkness and the eyes glowing green. I didn't realize that was the chair. I couldn't tell where that was.
Yeah.
And I know there's a scene later with the chair and sitting on it, but I didn't realize that was the same thing.
Because originally when he was talking, and he was talking about like father, I thought it was the mirror at first. Because that would, I mean, Prince of Darkness, that would have made sense of, beyond the mirror is like if he's darkness, then I'm assuming his father is Satan. They just don't out and out say Satan.
I was a little confused through that because I didn't know who it was. Because I thought there was the chair. I thought there was another thing in the room that he was projecting to. They had that weird like stone golem dwarf looking thing.
Oh yeah, that surprised me.
That was just kind of random.
He just had a lot of stuff going on in his like banquet hall throne room, so I wasn't.
Then what's
sure.
that?
You mean Stone Jeff? He's just here. Pay no attention. He was here when I bought the place. We were buddies in college.
So, yeah, like very demonic architecture in this throne room that Lily's in. Like, as you said, a lot of the high fireplace, the fire going, a lot of the demons and stonework and high ceilinged rooms that probably take a lot of money to heat in the wintertime. But the crew slips up and ends in the dungeon, and Screwball finds out that the Helmet Goblin is actually his brother, Blunder, which I don't know if it's like his actual like fraternal brother of Brown Tom and Screwball, or if it's just like brother in terms of, a fellow gnome kind of deal of like all of them together. But the pig orcs come in, which I didn't know if those were just like people with leather masks or if they were like weird pig things or if they were like supposed to be the fantasy version of orcs or what was going on.
I thought that he was voiced by Frank Welker, but after doing research, it is not.
I'm surprised.
Combo breaker.
But it had the same exact kind of tone voice thing that Welker's known for with that gravelly kind of Dr. Claw sounding voice.
Which the pig orc butcher dungeon guard guys kind of had a bit more intensity than like Meg Mucklebones and whatnot, just for the fact that granted she had a great makeup job and she looked like kind of spooky, but these guys you see in the background of just like bodies on a table and they're just hacking away at it with like butcher knives and whatnot, and they're like putting people into souffles and things, there's skulls about. So this is when they kind of ratchet things up to, if it was PG-13 at the time, then it would have gotten the PG-13.
Blunder randomly has like a chicken foot for a hand. They don't really explain. That's just a thing.
Yeah, like I didn't know if that was like, they were messing around with the horn and that ended up happening. Because he also has like
it could have been a cut
of like
thing.
Fur down his spine on his back.
Apparently the first cut of this movie was like 2.5 hours, so a lot was removed.
Yeah, because I know it was long. They cut it down to just under 90 minutes or something for the theatrical.
For American,
and then the director's cut bumped it back to like 1:58 or something.
Right.
So I would love to see deleted scenes with the story of how Blunder gets a chicken hand. But after finding out like, Blunder, our brother, like he's here, he went off to find adventure and ended up getting in with Blix's crew.
He ended up serving the Lord of Darkness.
As one does.
You know, one thing led to another.
Hey, you got bills to pay. Sooner or later, we all serve the Lord of Darkness, Dean.
Lord of the Darkness, he started making a lot of sense.
So, after that touching reconciliation between these gnome brothers, the guards come in and take Blunder away screaming. Which, the fire, the screaming, the chopping is just, it's a lot.
We've got to help him.
Oh, don't worry. Our brother can take care of himself, I'm sure. I think.
The kitten pies.
Yahoo Serious. So Jack asks Una to like escape, get the key, bring it back for him. And Una says like only if Jack kisses her. So he obliges and kisses her cheek and she's unimpressed. So she turns into Lily and Jack almost falls for it, even though watching her do it, and then catches himself and it was like, no way. So Una ends up leaving upset, but she doesn't let them down. She still comes back with the key.
I would have kissed her.
Before or after?
Well, I mean, like with the...
Yeah, she's 24 in this movie. It's totally fine.
Well, just the threat of impending doom, and if by saying no could lead you to a death worse than just normal fucking death, like who knows what this thing's capable of.
Death.
Like all she wants is a kiss. All right, fine, you got it.
Yeah, it's just like...
And it's not like she
that's
turned
literally
into
all she wants.
The princess's fucking sister and he kissed her. Like he was hypnotized to think that it was actually her. What's that fucking movie? The Matrix, where it had to do that. Like, oh, I want you to kiss me. But no, I want you to kiss me like you love me kind of bullshit.
I mean, what if she was like, kiss me, and then she turns into Make Mucklebones at the last second? Work this out in therapy, Jack.
Joke's on you. I was serious when I said she looked great.
What an alicorn. So Una's upset, but she still goes and gets the key for them. And then Blunder's brothers are like, he can take care of himself. That's harsh. He gets dragged off screaming by the butchers that are literally chopping people up in the next room and cooking them. And they're like, he's fine.
They find
Even
out
Jack
later.
is like, we should go help him. And they're like, he always does this, you know?
Later they find out he definitely was not fine.
Yeah. It's not like, oh, good thing you got away. It's like, no, if you didn't show up at the last second, he would have been pie. He would have got Sweeney Todd. Yeah, so this is where we end up getting a split up, because Gump decides to split up and synchronize their watches, which I like how they do, okay, let's synchronize. And Gump pulls out like some sort of water globe, and then Screwball pulls out like a giant pocket watch.
It's like, was it a watch? I almost thought they all pulled out different apparatuses.
Yeah, this got a really good laugh out of me. I really like stupid humor like that, and that hit the nail perfectly.
Yeah, it was just amusing that it's like they just pull out these different things. It's like, clearly, I guess all of you can tell time using this.
Their unit of measure is even better, because it's not like, let's meet back here in 15 minutes. It's like, let's meet back here in 600 beats of a fucking sparrow's heartbeat.
Yeah.
I love that.
Which I think would be a relatively short amount of time. I'll meet back here in 3 minutes.
300 beats of a sparrow's heartbeat. South African or... Oh, you know what? I don't know. So they end up splitting up. Browntown and Screwball end up take off from Gump and Jack. And then this is when Darkness kind of speaks to his father, who tells him Lily needs to be wooed in turn.
Did they say why they were splitting up? Like, we're going after Darkness, you're going after the unicorn, or
I think Gump was just done. Guys, I can't carry this party anymore.
Later on, don't they just say, how about like run, get the hell out of here? Like they're like, let's make
because I feel like they split up and then neither one of the groups like get anything done, and then they end up meeting back up again.
Yeah, I think one was to find the unicorn and save it.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. So Darkness speaks to his father, and his father gives him some dating advice. Says like, woo her, get her turned to our side. Lily's running through the castle, and that's where she has like that very cold looking columns room. As Una's kind of following her from a distance, and she ends up getting stuck in like the throne room or whatever the case is. She finds that fireplace room that Darkness was in, ends up kind of standing before the fire, and then Darkness tries to woo her with like drinks and jewelry, because she ends up just seeing like a random nightstand table with stuff on it.
Ooh,
and she finds
shiny.
like this absolute like dripping ice necklace in that chest there that she doesn't end up putting on.
Before this, it was nice when she's running through the halls, like she just runs right at the fire and it goes down for her. It's like it knows she's coming, but she just ran right over top of it.
It's Darkness in the next room, like adjusting it manually on the wall.
She's not to be harmed.
Set it to a 3.
That's the kind of necklace I'm walking by. My wife looks at it and is like, someday? And I'm like,
And you clop your hooves and you're like, I don't know. So yeah, she ends up finding that bonkers necklace, and then there's like the black dressed figure that ends up kind of dancing through the room, and she ends up getting entranced by it, and she's dancing with it too. And I mean, it's cool. It's like this very high collar Beetlejuice Lydia looking thing. And then she ends up dancing with the figure, and next thing she sweeps around, and now all of a sudden she's done up in the makeup, and she's done in the black dress and whatnot, as she's kind of darkness-fied.
I think it's an upgrade.
Yeah.
Which,
if I saw this as a kid, it fully explains why I became goth later in life. Between Lydia and just, I can't think of like several Wednesday Addams, like so many different gothic imagery was embedded in my head as a young child. This would have been like, I think I still would be dressed up in like, I think I would have went even further with my gothicness.
So now that she's been darkness-fied, we get a super cool reveal as Darkness, like as he's talking, just slowly walks clean out of the mirror in kind of his whole horned glory. You get the cape blowing in the wind kind of deal. Worth the wait the entire movie to see him, because he comes in cool and he just looks cool, and it stays at a 10 the entire time.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, Rob Bottin, chef's kiss, one of my favorite makeup jobs and performances as far as movies go. So Forrest and the Gumps arrive to hear Darkness's plan to kill the last unicorn. Darkness talks about how Sunshine is my destroyer. And Gump is pleased to hear this, because he's like, "Oh,
I was just
awesome!"
Gonna say, why is he telling everybody this?
Got a monologue.
The only thing that can kill me is sunlight. Hate the stuff, can't stand it.
Meanwhile, Tom Cruise is looking over in some alcove above, and just like fucking Indiana Jones in Short Round.
Actually,
Sunshine. I got an idea, guys.
So yeah, like Gump is excited because it's like, oh, we can definitely work with this. So I like how it cuts back to Brown Tom and Screwball as they're kind of talking and trying to figure out what's going on. And they're like, I vote we run like hell. And then Brown Tom is like, I second the motion. And they start to go just as they, Gump and Jack show up. And he just turns around quick and just bites his leg, thinking that they're getting attacked, which I like how both of them were not terribly serious throughout this, but when things came down to it, like they took things seriously, they tried to like help out and contribute to the group. I think that's why I liked them and didn't like, what's his name, Rankin Frangine or whatever from Willow, is they spent too much time laughing, even during times where it's like no people are dying. Screwball and Brown Tom, they know when to calm down and be like, okay, it's time we put in work.
It reminded me more of the dwarves from The Hobbit.
Yeah, I agree.
Than the hobbits themselves.
Yeah. So Jack has his plan to collect every shining object they can to kind of reflect this light back at him, only because they end up having a shaft that has all this light in it. So they figure, oh, that'll be our trick. We'll reflect all the light using all of these like pans and things. So they end up finding the sleeping orcs or whatever they are from that butcher room, which still look way too hardcore for the rest of this. Just the fact there's bloody skulls littering the table and whatnot. And they end up rescuing Blunder from inside a souffle, which, two things. One, supposedly if their brother can handle himself, if they didn't show up, he definitely would have been dead. Two, interesting that these butchers were making a souffle.
What always got me in movies like this is how the Dark Lord has the most illustrious looking banquet prepared for him. But when you go to the kitchen, it's the most rundown, grungy place. And then you see the chef and he's wiping snot with his hand as he's butchering whatever thing in front of him. And it's the most disgusting thing. But it goes from looking like that to then looking like the most exquisite meal you'll ever have in your life in the evil Lord's lair.
That's why I just want to see once. They just cut from all of this, the fire and the blood everywhere, and all of a sudden they're in the back in the kitchen, and it's just classical music playing, and these two guys that look like Leatherface are wearing white chef coats. It's just towel draped over the shoulder, and he's touching up the sauce on a plate and then doing the little swirl and whatnot.
Yelling at the fucking little goblins like Gordon Ramsay, making sure that everything is just perfect.
You fucking donkey.
Then he walks outside and just chops a guy in the head with an axe. Then goes back inside and works on like the perfect sorbet that would pair with this. Because I can just eat those brains like jam. So
isn't this how most kitchens work though? It's like it looks grungy and then it cuts outside and it's like a 5-star. It's a 3-star Michelin restaurant.
So we end up rescuing Blunder from the souffle. This was the point where I noticed he has a chicken hand, which never explained. And then Brown Tom is just Captain America in these giant plates down to Screwball when the orcs end up waking up because they're stealing all of these.
That's all real too.
Which is, it looks fun. Like it's just giant frisbee tosses.
Especially how he throws one, it like goes right and then turns, banks left, and like goes like 2 different directions but goes directly to him. It was pretty cool.
So yeah, this when the orcs or whatever they were wake up and they end up fighting them, it kind of really reminded me of like the Mines of Moria fight with the whatever it is, the troll or something.
I had that idea too, because especially with all those columns in that long hallway.
Yeah. And it's like them definitely being smaller, trying to like get up above them and attack them, and they're kicking away, and like Jack's trying to dodge and whatnot. And they end up eventually dropping these like boiling pots to burn them with water and steam.
I didn't totally understand that. Like the staging of that didn't make sense to me. Like it didn't look like that boiling stuff fell on anybody.
Yeah, I think they just forced it only because it was a kid movie and you kind of put 2 and 2 together with your imagination. But
I was like, oh yeah, okay, this boiling stuff's gonna burn him. But like the brother was like not even around, or brother. I call him a brother. You know, the other one.
That or they're just no longer padding for time and they need to wrap it up.
I mean, I would have liked if they cut the thing and the boiling pot fell and you actually watch one of them just dissolve. He's just holding up Blunder and he's just turning to a skeleton, except his hand that's still holding him. That would earn that PG-13.
I need a hand.
So they end up finding the shaft with daylight, and that's when Screwball actually volunteers to climb it. So rather than Screwball kind of upset that everybody's putting them into things this entire time, he ends up saying that he'll climb up and he'll kind of do his like I'm in the club moment from Monster Squad. Meanwhile, Darkness and Lily end up talking as she continues to reject him. And I like how even like this was when I really noticed that even with all the makeup and everything on, just the way Tim Curry's turning his head and like kind of the inflections he's giving during this performance, that just looking at it, I would be able to realize that it's like that's Tim Curry somewhere in there, just because it's something about it that's just perfectly him.
Yeah, he's really good. I almost like, I know this whole scene I think is probably intentionally, and it's, or not intentionally, but it's obviously like Beauty and the Beast, if not the Disney, obviously this came before this, but the whole, just the idea of Beauty and the Beast here in this scene. I just want to see a whole movie of him trying to win her over. Like, I guess like to Nick's point, like I want more darkness. I'm like, yeah, he's really entertaining. Because I think it's because in this scene he's trying to be nice, and just the fact that he looks the way he does.
Yeah.
Just like doing these like, no, just sit and let's just talk. Like you and me, we're just gonna
This is the point where I got the most confused too, because I didn't know how much of it was her actually like succumbing to his hypnosis magic of seduction, or if she was just actually going along with it. And the line was so heavily blurred, I really couldn't tell anymore what side she was on.
That's good, I'd say.
Yeah. Which I think is really a case of, like, I don't know if she was ever fully entranced other than when she first ended up, like, dancing with the other thing and ending up with the costume. But I think it's also just her being smart enough to play to a lot of these things. Because then, like, every time she's, like, antagonizing him, she's cracking up over it and laughing at him as he's getting, like, furious. But this is my favorite, like, type of villain, is the fact that, like, he's this giant dude, has all this power, can do whatever he wants, and he's still very calm and very, like, just discussing things and whatnot. Yeah. And he flares up here and there, but it's, like, just very relaxed.
Right.
And I think that's much better than, like, the just shouting, yelling, banging kind of.
Yeah. That also reminded me, I know, again, Beauty and the Beast came after this, but there's a lot of similarities there. I wonder if they actually took any inspiration from this for some of those scenes, just with
I mean, the story had already been
hot
there.
Cold he is.
I've never read
the story
the
had, but not the Disney version. Yeah.
Yeah.
When she pisses him off and he, swipes the dinnerware off the table and starts walking toward her. I remember as a kid being like terrified.
Yeah.
When he starts to come towards her, I'm like, he's so intimidating.
Because, I mean, it's the sheer size of him and the imposing nature of him and whatnot, and the look of him, that when he starts getting, like, speed behind him of moving across a room, it's, you're not stopping him. He's just going to plow through anything on the way to the other side.
He's terrifying.
So I like his discussion of, like, dreams are my specialty. Through dreams, I influence mankind.
The dreams of youth are the regrets of maturity. Dreams are my speciality. Through dreams, I influence mankind. My dream is of eternity with you.
And I don't know if he's talking about, like, ambition or just sheer greed in terms of that, of like, oh, darkness's influence is kind of seen in everything, or if he just means like specifically it's the nature of everybody at the end of the day kind of deal.
We're all animals.
Meanwhile, Jack's crew is creating the perfect Resident Evil light puzzle to get daylight from the shaft down to the throne room. With all of these, like, the plate things as he's like turning all of them. So Lily ends up telling Darkness, because he can't convince her to sit in the creepy chair, and just loses his mind over it. Because it's like, oh, take a seat, aren't you tired? Like, just stay a while. And then every time she starts to go sit down, she's like, I think I'll stand. And he's like, oh, whoa, damn it.
I think it shows the chair getting the equivalent of like a chair erection. Like, it's like getting ready. It's like, all right, she's gonna sit down. Starts to like melt and bubble.
So Lily ends up telling Darkness, I'll stay if I get to kill the unicorn. And Darkness is just so jazzed at the whole prospect of...
Delightful.
Oh, home run. So, like, it's a very cool shot overall of when it cuts to Darkness kind of standing in silhouette, explaining that he comes from before light existed. He came from the void. I mean, this is all the kind of like more into the almost cosmic horror realm of things that I love, of what's before time, like what exists before things existed. It's the whole idea of, oh, just this black void, that something was in there before anything came. And he's saying that that's where he came from. But it's just kind of like a great look of him. It's very kind of an iconic image there.
That's where my dad raised me.
Wait, what?
I was born in the void. You merely adopted it.
So the crew tries to trigger their light trick, but the doors close before they can, so they jump into the unicorn room together, which now they're all kind of in that room where the unicorn's all chained up. Lily and Darkness and the rowdy boys are down there all standing around this thing. And Jack and Gump end up preparing arrows because Lily is going to prepare to kill the unicorn, and Una is trying to get that light shaft going. And Gump tells Jack to kill Lily to save the unicorn because Gump has no faith in her, but Jack still does.
Don't know why.
Fucking shoot her, Jack.
Actually, yeah, Jack has no reason up until this point to trust her. Other than
he's only heard of her.
She sang her a song once.
He's not even seen her.
He's enthralled by the siren song.
Maybe just into that getup.
Wait, hold on. I just want to see how this pans out. And that's basically what happens.
I like this unibrow.
Jack, the alicorn, it's back. So, like we said, like Gump tells Jack to kill Lily to save the unicorn, and Lily ends up tricking Darkness, surprise, surprise, and frees the unicorn as Jack shoots Darkness, and they kind of stage their attack. And the arrow goes like through Darkness's like shoulder and out his other side of the neck or something like that.
How many times did he get shot though?
I think like 2 or 3.
Because you see him in the ensuing battle afterward, and it's just, he has like 6 arrows in him, but I only recall him getting shot once.
Unless we assume that Gump has been like firing arrows into him in the meantime.
Possibly.
He's just DPSing while Jack rogue tanks.
Do what you gotta do.
So, yeah, this is when Darkness goes kind of full charge across after Jack, and that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Even though the stunt mask doesn't look
Yeah,
Right?
I was just gonna say that's the one hiccup here is like you can tell when it's not Tim Curry and it's like it's even different. It's not just that it's not Tim Curry, it's like it's just a mask. It's not a full face prosthetic.
Yeah.
That's just stuck in like a open, like a slack-jawed, tongue out kind of
Which
expression.
like granted it's used very quickly.
Yeah.
But it's between when you're looking at all the rest of the performance and the makeup and everything, even to see this for a second, like it definitely, you notice it just because the other one's good. It's kind of jarring seeing that.
It makes sense. I didn't see it.
I watch these films frame by frame.
The stunt mask anyway. Well, I mean, some of them are a lot more noticeable than others.
Oh yeah.
And this one I never saw.
It's not terrible, but it's just definitely stuck out to me as that's a different mask.
Yeah.
Him.
Like when they drew a face on a rock in Willow when they're going down the sled scene. So Darkness proceeds to just slap Jack around with the sword as Jack is trying to shield himself. And meanwhile, Una is up at the top of the shaft. Screwball fell asleep. Like we said at the top of the show, no idea how long it's been between these points where Screwball's I'll climb up there.
I honestly think it's only been a couple of minutes because they show him climbing up, they climb down, and then it's like, oh shit, the door's closing, and like they go in, and then
So
this
that
scene
means
happens.
as they were going in,
time.
Yeah, as they were going into the throne room, Screwball was falling asleep.
Yeah.
Getting a good audiobook going, fluffing that pillow. Yeah, so Una's trying to lift the shield herself while Screwball is sleeping there. This way she can kind of kick off this whole light trick. And Jack ends up getting the alicorn in time for that light blast to kind of sweep down the shaft and come in. He stabs Darkness, the light hits him, and it's kind of that old double whammy of the stab and light attack kind of deal as Darkness is blown away into the void and is kind of holding himself there for Jack to come in and give him one last good chop.
Watching this scene, like Darkness would be an awesome action figure.
Oh,
be really badass.
Oh yes.
It'd be cool looking.
They should also add Darkness as like Mortal Kombat next DLC character.
Yeah, he could make an appearance.
Just slaps around Motaro. So I like how Darkness is still kind of like monologuing during this of,
what is light without dark? What are you without me? I am a part of you all. You can never defeat me. We are brothers, eternal.
Kind of nice ending words for this guy before he ends up kind of going out. And then he falls into space, which I'm assuming is the void. It's not outside. And then explodes into 5 stars.
That I just noticed, go to the right.
Yeah, he explodes into like 5 lit points that just go off to the right.
I almost thought they were going to like stop and like, now they're a new constellation. Or like that.
It's just his face surprised. I mean, that kind of would set it up for maybe like a sequel or something to that effect. Or even this would be the kind of thing that would be cool to have like a follow-up comic miniseries kind of deal.
They didn't?
I don't think they did. I didn't hear anything about it or read anything about it. But I mean, it definitely would have been cool, if not necessarily like another movie kind of deal, of just like an epilogue story kind of thing.
They leave so much ambiguous that they have plenty of room to do sequel content. I'm surprised they never did.
Yeah, which they can definitely do a sequel even without like going through of explaining all of the mysteries. But you can just continue a sequel of just more stuff because there's certainly enough here. So Darkness falls into the void. Jack returns the alicorn to Gump and gang. Lily is under a spell, so Jack returns to that original pool and brings her there so he can jump in and find that ring. Eventually finds it and brings it back and kind of wakes her up with it and kind of breaks that spell. And they have a moment together. Lily decides she's going to plan to return tomorrow, which I guess in the theatrical version or something, it ends with Lily and Jack going off together. And then like you hear Darkness laughing or something like that. And in this version, it's Lily wakes up and just kind of tells him, I'll see you later. Like, I'll come visit you tomorrow. We'll see each other again kind of deal. And she goes off by herself. And then Jack ends up, after the song, he watches her leave. A bird lands on him as he runs off into the sunset. And then the Gump and the unicorns end up kind of arriving and waving to him. And then closing credits over a score as kind of the crew waves to him as he leaves, which I kind of like.
I was thinking of the film crew. Actually, I was most surprised that, he jumps into the lake and recollects the ring. I didn't know he didn't get it the first time.
I mean, kudos to him for being able to come back a day, 2 days later and find it.
Surprised some hobbit didn't find it.
I like the ending more with them not running off into the sunset together and instead having them go off in different directions, because it's not, they'll never see each other again. It's, nope, this was just one adventure during their day. I will see you tomorrow. I had a great time. Thanks. And then whatever the case is there, they kind of go off and do their own stuff.
Oh, Jack, I had such a wonderful adventure. For you, this was the most memorable day of your life. For me, it was a Tuesday.
Jack, I'll return and I'll see you tomorrow. Great, bring pants. I hear so much about them from your kingdom. Yeah, so as far as this, I'm pulling it up here. So, as we said, the director's cut, Lily Wakes, Jax, they end up kind of confessing their love. They realize all of this is going on. They end up going off into two different directions. She'll visit him again. The theatrical version in America is that they see the unicorns and then they run off into the sunset together, and that the European version was the same as the theatrical, but without darkness laughing from the void at the end. So all sorts of endings there, but it sounds like all of them left the door open for a sequel.
I kind of prefer not hearing him from the Shadow Realm or wherever Superman thing
was. It's so cliched.
Yeah.
That's not in the director's cut, right?
No, in the director's cut, it's just they go off in different directions, right. And then kind of Jack waves at the rest of the group, and then he leaves.
Just that you're mentioning that shot now, just flashing in my head, oh wait, yeah, I remember seeing that at some point.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, they're definitely, this to me holds up. I think I appreciate it even more now because I can watch it, and aside from just being a fun fantasy film, I can appreciate the makeup work, the set work, the score, all of the individual pieces now as a film fan, as opposed to just kind of a kid liking the movie as a whole. But I don't know, how'd you guys think?
It was cool. It's I guess bigger than, I don't know how much I actually saw as a kid. I have these images of the characters and I recognized everybody for the most part, but I was I didn't realize that all this other shit happened. All I remember is darkness and the butcher and Gump being a weird kid. But now I appreciate Gump more as an adult.
Yeah.
He just it was weird to me as a child.
I was in and out a lot through the movie. I didn't think Lily was a good character, so I had a lot of disinterest off the bat. But in hindsight, as we're reviewing it, looking at it more in a slightly different light, I actually like a lot of the possibilities of the new headcanons, and that the world is really rich enough with lore that it doesn't give you anything, so that I'm thinking of all of these different possibilities, and it's kind of enjoyable. The whole reason why one would enjoy a fantasy setting.
Yeah, because I mean, I just wonder, even aside from if this is the whole forest thing, what does their town look like? What's the city? What's the kingdoms outside of this look like? Is there other stuff going on? So yeah, I think this is definitely something that would have made a really cool comic follow-up mini-series kind of deal, or even if it's not the same characters, just other tales within the same universe would have been fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was Legend. That is after Willow, and then we had the brief break with Small Soldiers. This is my first pick of 2022, and I think I will be on a fantasy kick the rest of the year. So I have a couple other things in mind that will pepper in. So, thank you again for coming along for the adventure on Legend. As always, you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram @ScreenRefresh, or email us your own movie memories at screenrefresh@gmail.com. For Nick and Dean, this is Tim. See you again in a couple weeks for Rule of Thirds. Bum, bum, ba, bum, 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 bum.
I want to do a remix of the ending.
Nothing is more magical.
And scene.